Fantastic. Well, guess what, Dave?
What's up, buddy?
This is the Moto Academy podcast, and this is the #1 podcast in Motocross. Welcome.
The hard R is just killing me right now, dude. Like,
well, dude, I love Motocross, and I'm just happy to have you on here to just talk everything Motocross. A1 was last night, so we're gonna talk about the Motocross series and A1.
Perfect.
Guys, we got Dave Drakes from the Collective Experience, so I hope this works well. Technology troubleshooting aside, you look great from my perspective.
Yeah,
I hope the shot looks good on my end because I'm going to be looking your way.
Yeah, same. You look good to me. So we're going to try this, and we're going to hope that it's solid. Because when it comes to this,
Yeah. Well, and anytime, don't want to jinx it, but anytime you try something new with a way of recording or internal recording somewhere, there's always something that pops up. The only thing I'm doing new over here on my end is I got a new key light over on this side. Hopefully my shot just looks better. Let me know in the comments. I think the last podcast I had the Moto Academy neon sign, which just came out of the Moto Academy van.
Love it.
It's sold. RIP. RIP to the Moto Academy Sprinter van. It's gone for good.
It was such a cool Sprinter van too, dude. I absolutely loved it.
I never got a chance to even really fully enjoy it.
Goodness.
So it pulled away. Driver Jamie took it last night. He dropped it off today, and when he was pulling out, I just didn't even want to watch him pull away with it because I'm like, I never even really
just break your heart.
I never really got a chance to enjoy it. I mean, it has 85,000 miles on it. Like he did 84,500 of them. Like I barely drove the thing.
Jeez, that's
insane. I barely drove it. But
insane.
It's going to a good owner.
Yep.
It got dropped off at his house today, and then he's flying. He goes, I'm going to fly Jamie back home, and I know that he's a pilot. So when he said that, I'm like, oh, I wonder if that means that he's going to actually fly him himself. Sure enough, he owns a P-51 Mustang. Do you know what that is?
Yes, I do.
That's the plane from the original Top Gun. Actually, it might have been the second Top Gun as well. And epic plane.
Yep.
And so he's flying Jamie in his P-51 Mustang to Jamie's home airport to drop him back off.
Dude, the life of Jamie is some of the things that he gets to do is just, it baffles my mind. Absolutely.
He deserves it though. He deserves it more than anybody.
He really does. So there's a few people, like obviously the TMA crew is all time. I love everybody in there. But dude, when people talk about TMA and they're like, oh, I did the class with so-and-so or so-and-so, and they're like, dude, Jamie gave me the sickest like pep talk or like the sickest setting. I'm like, that's what he does, dude. Jamie is just good dude, man. Good dude.
He's always willing to just spend that extra time to.
Yes.
But he's just that type of person. It was like when I went to Pastrana's house and Travis just made me feel like I was a bad person because of how nice he is.
Yes,
Jamie is that person always around me where I'm like, man, I thought I was like nice and good to people.
Yeah.
And then I look to him and it's just like, no, I'm not on driver. But it's something to aspire to. It's something to aspire to.
Oh, that's too good. Dude. I love it.
Dave, have you had Magic Mind before?
I have not. You're the second person that talked about it though.
I've been drinking it lately because I got sucked into coffee the last couple of years. And basically ever since I was sponsored by Black Rifle Coffee, whenever that was, 2020-ish.
21?
Yeah. I started then. I had never drank coffee until then. And ever since I've been drinking it. And then since we had Millie, I was really having a lot of coffee and sort of overdoing it. So I've been switching now to Magic Mind. And they also just came out with a little sleep performance shot too that you can have before bed, which is quite good. But this one's awesome. It's got mushrooms in it, and I'm all about the mushrooms for that mental performance. Just like super clear, just clarity, which is nice. It's not like the coffee where you're just sitting there buzzing. So if you want to try it, Dave, you can go to magicmind.com/TMA.
Come on.
Come on, AJ, get it.
On.
Come on. So close. So close. TMA Jan. It's a January special where, Dave, you can save 45% So
Okay.
that's pretty good.
I'd be
I just
crazy
read
not to do
that
it.
just now. Yes, 45% off.
Okay.
magicmind.com/TMAJAN. I imagine you have to do that in the month of January. So go do it and try this stuff. It's really good. They grow their mushrooms organically, which is super cool. There's a lot of really actually super cool things about this company when you
Yeah.
look into them. So I got to tighten this bad boy up. So go check it out.
I'm
Would
gonna
you?
have to.
I watched A1. Do you want to know how I watched A1?
How did you watch A1?
I watched it by watching you. I watched it in the Moto Academy app, and I liked doing it that way. It was fun.
It was super fun. I don't think because you've been on the TCE watch parties for a couple times here and there. But we haven't had a chance to like get on the like community aspect as TMA centered, because that one just pulls from everybody, like all of the fans, the subscribers, stuff like that. But this was really like super TMA heavy, and of course the community is phenomenal, and there's all these inside TMA jokes and little sub communities within the app too, which is super cool.
I know.
So having that aspect of it, that was super fun, and really I think this is probably one of the most informed groups in Moto. Like everyone in TMA eats, sleeps, and breathes motorcycles. So they had some stats.
Yeah, just
like
also just like catching things during the race where Real
Yes.
GP goes, why is Degan landing back tire first into this one corner? Like he was so specific with the
Yes.
question.
Yeah.
And I responded, and then I had to watch back that race because I was like, I feel like he was asking me about a different scenario. I thought he meant when he hit the quad and overshot it,
Yep.
but it wasn't that. It was the other weird section. I think it was like when they'd come out of the sand and then they had the option to kind of drop down and go double
Yeah.
2-1, or
Yep.
you could jump from the sand over the roller
Yes.
and then go scrub double into the turn.
Yep.
So what Real GP was able to recognize that like he was jumping in a weird way into that corner and landing back tire first. Then he was
Yes.
asking why. So it's like little nuanced things like that where they're like hyper paying attention,
Crazy
which
stuff.
is cool.
Yeah, but
it was fun
you
to be able to
won't-
actually get in that stream and to just engage with people
Yes.
in that way too.
Yes.
Like, okay, this
Exactly.
is why, and like this is what we should watch out for. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's gonna be fun to do.
And it's super rare to see people again that have like that eye, like this group, man. They're on their P's and Q's, and they know their stuff when it comes to moto. So that was really interesting.
Big
Plus,
time.
the race was action packed. We had a ton of stuff to talk about. There's a lot of stories coming in that people were really clued in on, and the race went the complete opposite in both classes. My fantasy is, dude, I've got like 20 points. Like, dude, it's awful.
I gave up on fantasy a long time ago just for that reason.
I remember.
Although who would have guessed it last night? I mean,
No, that was nuts. Yeah, it absolutely insane. Like, where do we start? Like.
well, let's start 250.
Gotcha.
Let's start 250 heat races, I guess. So I don't know if I'll plan to do this each weekend, but I watched everything through from. I watched it all, and usually I kind of like will skip stuff, and I'm sort of like I'm kind of a fair weather race fan, Dave. I don't know if I'm a very good fan of motocross. Like I'm kind of in, I'm out. I'm not fully committed. Sometimes I'll watch, sometimes I won't.
I hate this
But
so
I watched
much.
the whole thing. I watched the whole thing. You want to know the first thing that I was impressed by?
What's that?
And also, when I say I'm in and I'm out, and like I don't know half the people, especially now. So Cole Davies, don't know who that is. Looks fantastic.
Dude,
Such good, very good technique.
yes.
Was this his first pro Supercross race? I would guess. I don't know.
First pro Supercross race. So it was crazy because I didn't think that we would see Davies line up until sometime next year. I thought he would be a complete futures guy. However, he had a very good run at, I think it was Mini-O's and maybe a Pro-Am before that, where it looked like someone had plucked a season 250 guy and put him right, on the starting gate with all these guys. Form is phenomenal. And even, I can't remember, was it the heat race, I think? He was behind Degan and
Right.
didn't look like he was out of place. Usually we see guys
Not at all.
when in their first pro race,
Not at all.
pushing the front, getting a little over anxious, maybe attacking things a little bit too hard, a little bit too much effort in transitions. He looked like this was like his third or fourth season.
Yeah, I didn't see him make a single mistake. And that was why I'm like, oh, I don't know this person. Like, let's watch really close because he gets the whole shot. Like I was honestly watching this whole race with a different perspective than I normally would. And that like, I was watching it through the lens of mindset, I guess, and just like trying to get into these guys' heads and think about like how certain people would be thinking in certain scenarios. Because what I've learned over the last 2 years, especially, is like, it's all up here.
It is. It
At that
really is.
level, it's all up there. There's not much separating these guys at all. They're all, most of them are fit. The ones that aren't quite fit enough usually aren't quite fit enough because something up here stopped them from getting fit enough.
Bikes are all good.
So I watched him. The bikes are great.
Yeah.
So I watched him get the whole shot. I think Degan gets by him right away. And then he just kind of hung on to his back wheel for a little bit. And Degan pulled away, but he didn't look like he was trying too hard. No. His upper body didn't really move at all. His footwork was pretty good, but his upper body was very upright, super stable, sort of like Justin Cooper style, jet style, just like really, really elbows up and upright. He didn't put a foot wrong the whole time. Yeah. For his very first heat race. Usually, heat races are
notorious,
stressful.
Yes, for mistakes. Notorious for mistakes.
Yeah, because they just feel like everybody's going way too fast.
Yep.
Especially at A1, where the nerves are high and like nobody knows where they're going to fall into place yet. He just looked, I was really impressed by that. I'm like, who is that? Where do you know where he's from? Is he like
he's
American?
He's an Aussie, I think. That he rode. You might have seen him last year, honestly, in futures. I think he rode a KTM last year. But dude, he got signed by Star and immediately looked comfortable on the bike. And I'm always impressed with people who can go from like training for years on one brand, make the switch and have a immediate success. Cause like all the bikes are good. All the bikes are fast, but they do have their nuances. They are a little bit different, like the bar setup, foot peg placement, the whole rider triangle is a little bit different. Power delivery, but he hopped in that bike, man. And immediately to me, it looked like it was a regular Star Yamaha practice when he was in his heat race. He looked like he had like that level of comfort,
Yeah, it is helpful to have the person that you've been practicing against and training with next to you. I remember the year that I was with Jet and Hunter every day. And even the year before that, so I'm getting the years mixed up now. The first year I think I was on Jet's coast was before I was training with them. But even when Jet would be next to me on the track for very brief moments that I was next to him on the track, I would feel comfortable because I just kind of like, it was predictable and it just felt like I felt safe.
Yeah.
But especially with the brief moments that I was around Hunter the following season, I really felt at home. Anytime he was near me, like if I was lined up next to him or even a time qualifier next to him or he went by me at any point, it just felt like, okay. Like it would almost bring you right to the practice track.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah. No, that definitely makes sense. I really liked seeing.
Is Mary doing the dishes?
What's that?
Is Mary doing the dishes like Allie style?
God, dude, she's popping in and out of the room and everything, dude, consistently. But I really like that Davies didn't have. I've said it before. Didn't have like that new guy nervousness. You know what I mean? Like all these kids when they first go pro, no matter who they are, dude. We're talking AC, Barsha, whoever it is. Usually they have a sense of like over urgency to the point where it's like, slow down, you need that racecraft. And holy crap, man, he
just like trying to prove a point or just like completely riding outside of themselves and just being outside of themselves.
Yes.
You could just tell that the movements were cool, calm, and collected.
Yes.
Which says so much. I mean, I'd be curious to kind of, speaking of the mental side of that. I mean, that takes some mental fortitude to hop into a race to get the whole shot and then to like not mess up. The few times that I got whole shots, and granted I was a mental absolute head case, But the few times in heat races that I got hole shots, I immediately completely overshot the triple or botched a rhythm or like, and that comes with in your head, knowing that you're going to mess up and like looking for the opportunity of when you're going to mess up. That is like how I would function at that point. So it's two very different types of thinking.
I have not gotten many hole shots, and obviously we're talking two different levels. But I did do a pro-am one year, my first year in 450s. I hole shot it at Budds Creek. I was praying that I would crash, dude. I was like, please let me. Like, I could not take the heat. Like, and it was, they were fast. These I was racing. This is my first time racing like grown men, you know, with like kids and stuff. And dude, I was so scared. Yeah,
it's like a subconscious and sometimes borderline conscious feeling of like, let me just mess up here.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, like you almost want your own
it's
downfall because the pressure's too much.
It's because you don't believe that you can. You deep down don't believe that you can do it, so you just look for a way to self-sabotage.
Exactly.
I saw it a couple times in throughout the night too.
That was my next question for you: was who do you think had the opposite of Davies, like where their mental state kind of surprised you a little bit in kind of a negative way?
Well, there was a couple of guys in kind of like bubble moments of, and you will have better recall than I would. I don't know if it was the heat race. I want to say it was one of the heat races where somebody got block passed in the last turn in the 250 heat. And I want to say it was a Yamaha that got by them and they kind of went off the berm.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Who were those guys?
Oh, I remember we called it out during the live. I cannot remember the name, man.
It was for the last transfer spot. But that to me seemed like whoever that person was didn't believe at that time that he should have been making the main event. I think he actually transferred through the LCQ. Long was his last name, maybe, on the KTM. And but he did the quad or went on off and then just went to the outside entering that corner, and I was just like, and then when the person came on the inside, like he didn't even try. He just like rode off the track. Gotcha. And I'm like, I know that feeling. Like I've been that guy that's just kind of like, here, yeah, you can have it.
Gotcha.
You know?
Yeah, that I can definitely see that. Plus, I mean, you
but
touched on that.
He made it through the LCQ after that. So
yeah. So still, hey, anyone that makes it, like Joe, dude, it's crazy. But talk a little bit about the nerves, because like I don't think enough people talk about, number one, you're on a pro gate. The nerves, I don't think most people can ever grasp that. But when it's A1, what we've all watched as kids and stuff like that, like how do the nerves compare between that and like your, traditional like Buds or Red Bud or something? Like, is there a difference?
Well, I think, at least speaking from my experience, it always felt like on the verge of desperation, because it was like that very race, that very moto, me sitting on that gate felt like it was do or die. If I don't do it right here in this race, like my life is blown up, my world is blown up.
Yeah.
Like it always felt in that way, where maybe that's where it's hard for people to comprehend. I think everybody gets nervous for gate drops and races in their own way on any level, local level, pro level, all of it. And it's not like being in a stadium with the lights and the fans. You don't notice. I don't notice that. I never noticed that. But it just more felt like the desperation of just like needing to do well enough to perform, to keep going, to get to the next race, to make enough money, to make the team happy, whatever my scenario was at that moment. So really not a good feeling. The headspace I was in most of my career, like sitting on the line, felt like I didn't know if I was going to crap my pants or throw up.
Yeah.
Like my stomach was in such knots that my legs weren't even strong enough to like stand up on the foot pegs if I needed to. I remember my first arena cross race, I got 4th.
Yeah.
And in that main event, the first night of my first pro arena cross race, I'm 15 years old. I had to sit down like the whole last half of the main event. Like, picture this. In the rhythms, through the whoops. I'm not kidding. Like I was seat bouncing whoops. I was seat bouncing all the way through the rhythms because I couldn't stand up because I was so nervous, because I was like, oh my God, I could get a podium here. I'm about to get top 5. Like my stomach was in such knots in the middle of a race that I couldn't stand up
Oh my
because my legs
gosh.
were that weak.
Holy
Yeah,
crap. Yeah,
I
I did
was a
not know that.
mess.
I did not know that.
I was a
I'm sure
mess.
Tony Cat left you sitting down half the time.
Oh, Tony Cat, shout out. Well, what took me a little while to get on here is he was visiting Millie. So
Oh, really?
he might be upstairs as we speak.
Okay.
Yeah, but so my reality went from that of like basically winning every single time I ever lined up at a local race, right? That became the norm of like, I better not lose, to then at amateur nationals, like, I guess accepting my place of where I kind of would land, but it was still up there enough to be
Yeah.
good enough.
Top 5.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when I turned pro, I guess there was nowhere to shoot for. I didn't have anywhere to shoot for. And I just felt this like crazy nervous energy of like, I don't know. I didn't have any real direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's tough.
I was so nervous. So that's why I watch the races on TV now. And I'm just like, that's how I watch it from the perspective of like, when I see the age come across the screen of like, these kids are like Beaumaire, I think, did it say he's 18? I'm like, oh my God, 18.
Dude. He didn't ride like an 18-year-old though. He rode really good.
No.
And you know what I liked about him? Kenny talked about this. He's like, he doesn't let his highs get too high or his lows get too low. Beaumaire didn't really let like the holy crap, I just got second and I was fastest qualifying. Like he didn't let that get to him. He was like, hey, I know I should be here hunting for titles and wins. I know how much work I put in. I know how much, my team puts in. I know how talented I am. I want to go out there and get the job done. I was like, that is some grown man ass confidence. That is 450, my 7th year in this class kind of confidence. I just got off a boot camp with Alden Baker. That's what that sounded like. So
yeah,
I
and
was
you
really
can
impressed.
usually read through like when you see the podium
Yes.
interview.
Yep.
Like you could read through if it's like the stupid, annoying kind of scripted version of
Yeah.
like they're just saying what they think they should say versus like somebody that's like locked in.
He was 10 toes down. He was like, listen, he's like, you can try to take this win from me if you want to, but I'm going to square up. He believed every bit of his, of where he just felt like he belonged. So, and that's kind of refreshing, man. That was really cool to see. I think the 250 class is really going to be something to watch in the next couple of years, man. Because just think about it. Joe Shimoda, super fast. Beaumaire, Faulkner is going to have his resurgence. Jalik's going to come back next year. Just so many people that have like just so much talent and support, and they can win on any given weekend. It's going to be crazy.
There's going to be a big window of opportunity. I was like looking at the 250 class, at least West Coast. Like you never want to say it's not deep or there's not a lot of fast guys, or I just feel like there's a big separation from the top 2, 4, 5, 6 to everybody else. Like it feels like there's quite a huge separation. And there's so many fast 450 guys that are all like my age and older. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like looking at that going, okay, if you take out, like give it 3 years, 2 years, you can go down the 450 list and 90% of those guys are going to be retired.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm looking at that list and I'm like, well, you'll have Jet up there. You're going to have Justin Cooper up there. He'll be a podium guy. He'll be like a championship 450 contender because everybody else will be gone. Yep. And then I'm like thinking who's going to fill into those 450 spots from 250. And then it's like, all right, well, who then is, it's such a changing landscape right now where it's felt the same for the like last, to me it has for like the last 6 to 10 years almost. It's gonna go through a huge shift here like next year or the year after that. So it's gonna be super interesting when I start like going for my 5-year championship swing here, Dave. It's gonna be a completely different landscape. Did Allie mentioned upstairs, did Jet say something about flying private?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So for like the pre-race press conference, he was saying that, it was cool. He flew there private, but on the Honda jet, but you didn't have to pay for it, which I think most people took as like a slide to Degan of like, dude, like you guys keep comparing us and there's a rivalry. he ain't in my league. I fly private for free. You got to pay for your, you know what I mean? People kind of took it. I think you could take anything out of context and flip it. Whether that was his intention or not, I'm not sure. But yeah, the dude flew private.
How about you pay for it though, dude? Fly private everywhere. You kidding me? When I'm on year 5 of my championship swing, when I'm 35 years old in the 250 class, I'm going to be flying private.
You know what's crazy?
You better believe it.
If you get a bunch
and then I'm going to get helicoptered in. I'm going to fly private, and then I'm going to take a helicopter, and I'm going to rappel down into the stadium.
Wait, rappelling is so disrespectful. Wait, dude. The helicopter was bad. If you're going to rappel, that is so disrespectful.
Dave, I didn't even finish yet. As I'm rappelling, I'm going to be rappelling down on a couch that I'll be napping on. I won't even be awake. I'm going to be sleeping on this couch as I'm rappelling down into the stadium while the fireworks are going off during opening ceremonies. And that's how I'm going to claim my 250 championship at 35 years old. So Jet, if you're making $20 million, $10 million, you can fly private, especially if your brother is also making a lot of money. Hunter, Jet, both of you hop on a plane. Who else can go on there? Dazzy go on that plane.
Yep.
We got a couple of dogs on there for sure. We got Cynthia hopping on.
Myrtle.
Tate hopping on there. Yep. Lucas can pitch in. It's not that much money, really. I mean, coast to coast,
really
what do you pay for private? Is it 30 grand, 35 grand?
$7 grand an hour. So yeah, you're looking a little around 30, depending on, what you want to fly, and if you want like, super big Gulfstream or something like that. But like, think about like most people, if you get a group of buddies together, you get 8 people, split the cost. It's not that bad. And you don't have to go through TSA. Perfect. You're not waiting. My thing was not only the security check, but you don't have to wait an extra 30 minutes to board and all this craziness. So, it can really, you get a good group of people together. It can almost be just as much as flying yourself commercial.
And then write it off.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, what else are you doing with? I'd be curious to know. I'd be really curious to know what somebody like Jet's tax situation looks like, because you got to imagine like a lot of those expensive purchases that people would think are silly or irresponsible are completely necessary, because when you're making that type of money, like you've got to spend it somehow, or you're just giving it all to the government, right?
Exactly. And there's so many things that you can do now with so many different, I don't want to call them loopholes, but opportunities to be able to utilize whatever you buy as like an asset. So like, hey, I bought this NSX because it gets me more views for my marketing through social media. You know what I mean? There's a lot of, and I'm sure there's like stipulations and stuff. It's crazy.
The system is created for rich business owners, wealthy business owners. So like that's what I feel like, at least, is like I start to learn more about the loopholes, as you call them, right? It's like it's designed for people that are making a lot of money in this type of situation, to where you don't have a big tax liability at the end of it.
Exactly.
And I wonder, you got to imagine these guys are all have that figured out, but fly private jet, huh? Okay, back to 250s. So Cole Davies looked great. Degan just wiped out. I only saw the one angle of that. Like, was it
he clipped.
Was it avoidable? Was it his fault? Was it somebody else's fault?
Starts were tricky. I think it was, I mean, obviously if he would have got a good jump and got away from it, everything would have been fine. But I think he just tapped someone's rear wheel with his front, and it kind of sent him over the bars a little bit. I think it was Rider D that he tapped really quickly. But again, that's why you got to get a good start, right? But it looked semi unavoidable. I give it like a 50-50 split, depending on, he was buried in the pack. Where else was he supposed to go? But also shouldn't have been buried in the pack, right? So you can kind of flip it both directions. But I mean, he did fantastic damage control, coming from essentially last to fifth, with going through all that traffic. The track wasn't super like pass friendly. A couple, sections were one line. I thought he did pretty good. I mean, you're not going to win the series at A1. I think if you can come out top 5 and healthy, it's a good A1.
Good enough.
That's a good A1.
Yeah,
so,
it's good. It's good enough.
Especially in that
that last turn with him and Shock was
Ooh,
impressive by Degan. Oh
yes.
my God. That's like, no, I mean, I wouldn't do that. You
No,
kidding me? I don't care
no.
who it was that was on the inside to lean into it like that and to
And
just
just,
pin it. Whew. Yeah.
that was
And
wild.
wasn't it role reversal last year? Didn't Degan break Shock's hand in a left-hand turn right before the finish line?
You know,
Or was it somebody else that did it?
I would be lying if I said I remember. Honestly, like I've
Or maybe not a hand, maybe it was something. I swear somebody hit Shock in the last corner of a left-hander, very similar type of situation. And
Yeah.
I thought it was Degan, but maybe not. But just to lean into it like that, I was like, woof,
Yeah. Shout out to Cody Shock too, man. He's been
solid.
riding so well. He's like not even I know a lot of people still consider him like, oh, you know, the guy that was kind of a privateer that got a shot. Like he is like a top guy now. You know, I think he's
Yeah.
kind of shift like that like connotation that people have of him, man. He is a top guy now. And that bike looks really good. I will say
Is
the
he on
club bikes look good.
okay, he's club.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's super good. He's in control. His technique looks really good too. Can we shift to talking about the track?
Please.
Which maybe we should have talked about the track. So,
Please.
dude, this is why maybe I'm a fair weather motocross fan, but
Hashtag hard R.
I I think the sport is super motocross. Motocross. It's super motocross. It's not supercross anymore. Truly.
Yeah.
I'm curious to get your opinion, but when I watch it, I feel less interested because I can't help but to watch it and picture myself riding the certain sections. And when it's like not a track that I feel like I would like riding, I don't like watching it.
Gotcha.
And last night's track, A1's track, the whoops barely are whoops. Yes, they looked like they were still giving people problems, but it's like, come on, there's 9 of them. By the time you mess up, you're in the soft sand at the end. Everybody that crashed in the whoops crashed in the sand. There's short, annoying lanes. There was only one actual rhythm lane. Everything else was like doubles. It just doesn't feel like Supercross. And maybe they're making that obvious. They've renamed the whole thing. Maybe they're like, duh, guys, this isn't really Supercross anymore. Get with the program. Do we all have to accept that it's just not going to be the same anymore? Does Moto Academy have to create our own Supercross series with a 12 whoop minimum and make it Supercross again? Or do we have to accept that it's just different?
I think we might have to. Honestly, I think I see where you're coming from. There are glimpses of like, okay, I also see promoter perspective as well, because I think they're tasked with making something that's exciting, but also kind of safe for their riders, right? Because you don't want them to go, you know, ass over tea cut all the time, but also add in elements that kind of unique. You know, I think they don't want to have things be stagnant. We're asking for, dude, give me Phoenix '07, give me, what was it, Orlando '06, give me like some of those cool tracks that we saw Ricky, Stu, those guys like really dominant. Give me Dallas '05. Oh my gosh, that would be insane. I don't think they want to like replicate what's been done. I think they want to keep things fresh, but by keeping things fresh, it's kind of making it not as exciting for the avid fan. You know what I mean? For the people that are watching it for 20 something years. So I see your perspective. And there are sections where it's like, man, that ain't really Supercross, right? Did we even have like a really big like triple? Usually we get like 2 per track. This one, I don't remember.
Oh yeah, there wasn't.
It was kind of
There
like
was, but it's like
in
they're
a
so
rhythm
small
lane
now, and
almost. Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, I kind of miss the tracks of like yesteryear. You know, I really do miss the tracks that we saw guys really doing some cool stuff on. And I think you've
Just
been on.
separating people.
So yes,
I don't.
you've been on record saying this, and I think Hill most recently said this. It's not like it's the speeds that are getting people hurt. That's scary. It's not so much the obstacles of like, well, doing a quad here or a triple or this. That stuff's really, you guys are professionals. You know, you guys know how to handle it. It's really the speed at which they're making the riders go now with track design. That's like sketchy side, you know. So My two
That's
cents.
always been my theory, and many people have disagreed with that. I saw Hill talking about it, and I think he articulated it extremely well. Seems like a smart individual.
For
I've
sure.
never really. I love Gypsy does such a good job of like having a platform. I can't wait to have more of a solidified studio to where we can fly people in and just have an easier home base for, speaking of Winchester, of flying people in to have longer format conversations, because you get to see sides of people that like you've never really seen.
Exactly.
So Hill was super cool to listen to, but it was like the words were coming out of my mouth. Speeds. He basically said the danger comes with the speed, right? So build the technical sections so that people will go slower because they either can't do it or it's just so technical that naturally your speed is slower.
Yes.
You might have more frequent crashes, but when you do, at least they're not like somebody threw a grenade at you and you just explode yourself.
Exactly.
There was multiple sections on this track at A1 where you do the whoops, the sand corner, and then that section after the sand, like that's a dangerous type of section. You're slingshotting yourself out of a sand section, jumping a little kicker of a thing, 100 feet it looked like. And I saw so many people get like a crazy endo off. I'm like, that is what causes a career-ending type of crash. That style of obstacle at that speed. So in the section that Malcolm crashed in, not in the way that Malcolm crashed exactly, because he kind of crashed more in the sand part of it. But had Malcolm have made it 15 feet further, it would have been way worse.
For sure.
Yeah, I don't know. And it just makes me slightly less interested. I did watch the whole way through. I watched the heat races. The LCQs were awesome. The main events last night. But I don't know. Give me some whoops back. I don't watch it and go, man, I want to race again. I watch it and go, oh, you know what? I'm glad that I'm watching this from not just in my couch. I was under the covers in bed on mute, just watching on my phone.
And this is going to sound so blasphemous, but there are occasions where I could not be happier to watch the race from my couch. There are many times where I'm like, we're freezing and we're like, God dang it, we have to walk out in this packed stadium outside, grab our stuff. The bike's not going to be ready. We got to do this, and then maybe we can find an Uber to get us to our hotel in the next hour. I'm hungry, my feet hurt. You know what I mean? Dude, it's so nice to be like, oh, that was a good race, and just curl up and, go to sleep. Dude, it's so nice, man.
The schlepping we had to do.
Oh my gosh. And it's not even like we get our own beds. So we're going. It's like us and 5 other broke dudes trying to save money.
I mean, the schlepping was unbelievable. Looking back on it, it's like, wow. And I didn't even think twice. No. I was loving it, in fact.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We were living dangerously, man. Definitely. But
we were definitely living dangerously.
It was fun.
So what else track related? Wouldn't have been wanting to ride it. Not enough whoops.
Did you like the split start? Did that kind of bother you at all?
No, I think split starts look cool. It was kind of it looked like sort of a tight, janky, not dangerous, but like kind of guaranteed going to have a first turn crash type of setup.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's hard. That's where I'm like, okay, yeah. Where do you put a turn in a Supercross track that is like safe?
Yes.
I don't know. I'm not sure. But there were a lot of, I don't know. What did you think?
Split start was cool. I've seen it done worse. So I thought it was pretty cool. I actually thought they did a really good job of like, you're never going to be able to get it to funnel perfectly, but I thought they did a really good job of making it pretty safe, pretty solid.
I think I like just longer starts.
Yeah. That's why I really like Phoenix, man. That stadium, we get some really good tracks there because the floor plan is just so large.
Are they there this year?
I think so. I gotta review that schedule better, dude. I've been slacking, but like the year the year that Malcolm was like going Mach 1 in the whoops on a Honda and broke his femur or something.
Yep.
Like that had a pretty long start. That was like a super long whoop section. That was a track where
Oh yeah.
we were excited, you know?
Oh, long rhythms, long whoops. Those were Supercross tracks. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
yeah.
the stuff that I really like and remember.
Yeah. What other 250 highlights?
Your doppelganger, Joe Shimoda, got a win.
Oh, Joshy. Shout out Joshy.
Did not see that. I wouldn't have put him for a podium before round 4, maybe. Just knowing that he kind of comes on late in the season. The guy's lights out fast, but usually it's a slow start, you know, like getting the train going. But dude, he came out swinging. Like we touched on mindset earlier. What do you see in Shimoda that's like different? I wouldn't say he was like a super negative guy to begin with, but he's got to have some sort of mindset change to come out swinging like that. That was a masterful ride.
Yeah, I guess believing as opposed to like hoping, where the starts normally are mental. Truly, I mean, you could still botch a start and be mentally solid, like Jet, for example. But the chance of you getting a good start when you believe that you're going to perform well in the race, like Sexton or Joshy in this situation, you just get the good start. It's like you will yourself to a good start. I mean, even if you look at like Anderson got the worst start of all time. And Anderson is basically what caused Jet to crash in the first turn. It was the sloppiest, worst start ever. And by the time he was in turn 2, he was somehow in like second or first place.
Yeah.
And I was like, how the heck did that lead to that? It's because he knows, it's like Webb. He just knows that he's going to get there. So why not start there? And it's like, you almost like you will your way to it. I'm not surprised by Joshy doing that well. And everybody's gonna be like, why is he calling him Joshy? It's because his Instagram tag is Joe Shimoda, and Ali always read it as Joshy Moda. And so now I just call him Joshy because it sounds better. I'm not surprised. His gear looked sweet, I think. What'd you rate his kit? Because I know you were talking about the pink stuff from that number 70 guy. So you rate the pink stuff pretty high?
That was like a 9 out of 10 for me. I'm partial to like the fluorescent colors. My kits are always super bright. It's also Prado. I'm a big Prado fan. And the fact that he was just dripped out, that pink coming off of the Cowie green with a little bit of like the black mixed in, it just looked super cool. Joe's, I'd say solid 7.5 out of 10. I'm not a big yellow guy. But Joe made it work. He comes out with some pretty sick kits. That's one reason I was excited to see him like win. Because he's usually into like streetwear culture, and I'm like, dude, if this guy starts getting more eyes, people are gonna start letting him get a little bit more creative with his kits, and I'm like, ooh, we're gonna see some really nasty kits coming out this year if he starts getting more and more popular. All of you Fox guys are gonna be looking sick with that limited edition Joe Shimoda, collabs or whatever he's gonna come out with.
He looks, he's got cool style. Typically I wouldn't like yellow on a Honda because it sort of looks McDonald's-esque. But this didn't look that way. I thought it looked pretty good. I would actually have chosen that setup over the Prado pink with the green, although I think that did look pretty good.
It did, yeah. You had a kit, was it last year? It was like, you had some like pink, it was almost like reminiscent of like the Stu kit from back in the day, but you had some pink and stuff in there.
Was the base of it white, or was the base of it black?
I think the base of it was black, if I'm thinking correctly. But you had, I don't remember what it was, like what line it was or what year it was, but I remember I was either there when you put it on for the first time, or you texted me a picture and you were like, I know you're gonna love this. And I was like, oh. I was like, dude, that is nice.
There was 2 pink ones that year. There was the white with like the pink and the orange that I had matching boots with. That was my favorite one. And then I think the one you're talking about, it was mostly black, but it had like pink maybe on one of the arms or kind of up onto the chest and the shoulder. That one had a matching helmet. Don't know what I wore for boots with that one.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool because when Fox does their stuff, it's usually all coordinated in that like
Yes.
They coordinate the goggles with the helmet and the boots, and everything ties together really nice. They sent me, I didn't get it yet, but apparently I was supposed to get it. The whatever the A1 kit was. So I don't know whose A1 kit I got. Whose do you think I got?
I hope
Was any of them like not custom? I bet you if anybody's, it was Prado's seemed like the one that would be out to the public.
That's what I was just gonna say. Probably Prado's. Like, I don't really see a lot of stuff that Joe wears out and about.
No.
Maybe just people don't choose to wear it or whatever. But
and same with Roxon. Like his seemed like kind of custom to him.
Yeah. I don't see a lot of Roxon stuff either. Now that you mention it, but yes, I thought Prado stuff was just super drippy. I really liked that setup.
Is that the highest rated kit of A1?
I think so, man. I did like the FXR Vapor stuff. I'm an FXR boy. But dude, Prado stuff, especially with like him and JA, like 1 and 2, nice. That was really nice. So that helps.
There was some cool looking stuff. I saw a video of Tomac sitting on the start straight for opening ceremonies. In Tomac's jersey with his helmet, like he had that custom painted helmet.
Yeah.
Ooh, that looked cool.
Yeah, they did a collab Alpine Star did with Dirt Studios. So it's like that kind of old school 90s era event t-shirts. They kind of incorporated that into like a lot of their kits. So like if you looked at JA's, it kind of looked like some old school Fox or some old school like Cinesalo or however you pronounced it. Some of that, it kind of looked like that from back in the day. Not my favorite era in Moto gear, but still pretty cool.
That's funny. Let's see. LCQs. Dave, do you remember what happened in LCQs? I know 450 LCQ was exhilarating there the last lap or so.
It was stacked.
Let's start with 450 LCQs start. So they zoom in on, I'm like about to fall asleep at this point. And I forgot that we were sponsoring Cade for the season, that he's got a Moto Academy custom painted helmet on. And I was like, oh, I wonder if they haven't shown Cade yet. I wonder if they'll show Cade. They zoom in on Ferrandis on the start, and I can just see like the TH of the Moto Academy of Cades Helmet right in the corner of the screen. I'm like, pan out just a little bit. just 1% zoom out, like just the tiniest bit. And sure enough, they didn't. I'm like, oh, I can see it now. It's going to be just funny. We'll have just a collage at the end of the season of just like, we'll have to piece together just like the TE and then just like the chin bar in one shot. We'll get the full helmet by the end of the season.
Yeah, I don't remember too much of the start for the 450s, but I do remember it was stacked because not only did you have
it was
Ferrandis was in there, we saw Mookie in there, but dude, think it like wasn't Harlan in there? Cade, then you had Nichols was in there. You had Morans, there were so many fast guys in that one. It was like mind blowing. I'm like, holy crap, like, dude, who's to say Brees? Yeah.
Brees looked solid. So that was Brees the one who took Ferrandis out, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. Did you remember that situation?
Yeah.
So what, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most dirty, what do you rate Brees takeout move on Ferrandis?
5.5.
Okay. Yeah. I agree. I would say almost even lower.
Yeah.
I thought it was really well done. I didn't think it was dirty at all. Like he didn't give him room because why would you? Especially in an LCQ.
Yeah.
It seemed like Ferrandis just got to learn to read the room in an LCQ, like what are you going around the outside of somebody for?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's sort of like, I've seen this many a times where like Stewart was guilty of this to where Stewart was just so much better than everybody at a lot of points in his career where he was riding as if like there was literally nobody else out in the track. Right. And he would forget that there was other people out there. I think this Ferrandis Brees thing was like, I think he thought that Brees was just going to let him go around the outside because he's Ferrandis.
Yeah.
Right.
Or thinking like, oh, no one's going to attempt to come on the inside of me because like I'm used to like 20-minute motos, like the sense of urgency, or like, like LCQs, they will that safety versus risk line, they move that. That's pliable. That's a dynamic position. So I don't think maybe he wasn't really maybe he wasn't attuned to that. But yeah, I think he should have read a little bit of that's where racecraft comes in, right? You got to really almost have your head in a swivel, eyes in the back of your head kind of deal. I feel like Ferrandis should have seen that coming, essentially.
Yeah. And then the very next lap, Brees was in the same situation with somebody else, but the other, and I forget if this was Moran's or who it was, but this other person didn't get kind of clipped the rhythm going into the corner. And this is like arena cross coming to play here. Just knowing what to do and being so strategic. Brees, instead of driving into the corner like he did with Ferrandis, he checked up and stopped because he knew that the person clipped the rhythm, so therefore they were going to try to cut down.
Yeah.
And he saw it happening before it even happened. I was like, and I knew it was going to happen too. I'm just like, I've always been good at that stuff. And I was like, oh, he's gonna, and he did it, slow down. And then going into the next corner, he played the next corner perfectly too. I was like, that's what arena cross teaches you. Yes. Arena cross doesn't teach you how to be dirty, because if you're dirty in arena cross, you're going to just have a target on your back and get pummeled every single weekend.
Exactly.
Like with Fries, for example, Fries can't ride like how he did in Supercross in arena cross because you'd get killed. You would never finish a race.
Yeah.
You have to learn how to strategize
for sure.
Way better.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that honestly, riding arena cross would make Fries a cleaner rider because you'd learn to set stuff up and strategize a little bit more. You can't just pummel somebody and then go, well, they might not see me out in the track for the rest of the season or for at least a few races. In arena cross, like you're seeing everybody every lap.
You're literally pitted next to the guy. So it's like, come on, man. No, that's too funny.
You're sharing a plastic foldable chair with them.
Dude, our tables are joining, dude. No, that was
sharing tools.
No, that was crazy. Like this, that LCQ should have showed us like just how insanely stacked the 450 class is. Because really, man, there's just any given weekend you could have. Not, it used to be like, it's a little bit of a rarity to have one factory guy in the LCQ. Then it became like, well, it's a stacked season. We might have 2 guys per race. Now it's like, dude, it's not going to be uncommon to see a full qualifying position 4th through 1st be factory guys in LCQ. You know what I mean?
Well, the privateer guys, I think the biggest difference is the privateer guys are riding at a much different level. It feels like, there's not the drop off because you can see it. You can see the Ferrandises or the Mookies get dropped into an LCQ and they're not winning by 15 seconds. Yeah. It's like they're in the mix with these guys because they're good. Jerry Robin was in that LCQ. He's been riding great the last couple of years.
Yes. He likes that.
And he's always been super fast, obviously, but he would just crash all the time.
Yeah.
And now like he's reeled that in, and Jerry is super fast. Yeah, looking at that lineup of the 20 guys in the heat race 1 and 2, and then like the full lineup in the LCQ, I was like, oh boy, I'm glad I'm not at that race, first of all. And then second of all, like if I were at the race, that I wouldn't be racing a 450 class because there are so many fast dudes. Yeah, like Cade looked like he rode great, got kind of buried on the start.
Yep.
But just got like, 8th or 9th in the LCQ and like probably rode solid.
He rode very well. Yeah, shout out to his teammate Mitchell Harrison for the PRMX team because,
he got 4th in the LCQ, didn't he?
Yeah, rode really, really well. So, and actually one of our past interns, even I think he interned for you too, is now his full-time mechanic. He was texting me. He's like, dude, I can't believe we made it in. This is so sick. I was like, man, that's awesome.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, he was so stoked. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, a lot of your past interns texted me yesterday, and they were like, "Oh, tell AJ I said hey, but like we're all at A1 behind the gate, It's like, man, that's pretty rad.
but we're not washed up.
We're not washed up. I remember I did that to you one year where you were like, "Where are you?" I was like, "Oh, I'm behind the gate getting like the riders ready," and you're like, "Why?" I was like, "I don't know." I just sent you a picture of like a selfie, and you're like, "Focus on what you're doing, dude."
I'm like, Dave, why are you texting me? You're on the gate.
You're on the gate. It's like,
pay attention to your rider.
What are you guys eating? Save me a bite.
What's up?
What's up,
NM, you?
dude? Is that you? Bigboard in your hand. It's too funny. We should talk about just maybe one or two storylines in 450s.
Maybe.
Your boy, dude. What are your
Tomac
thoughts?
blowing it. Jet blew it. Who else
Dude.
blew it?
Mookie didn't have a great night.
Tomac rode like a beast,
Dude.
That guy, watching him hit corners.
Thank you. I was just gonna say
nuts.
that. What is that? Because like there was a video I think that Brian Deacon posted of Tomac hustling around the Blue Crew track. I have never seen anyone attack corners like that, and it wasn't like we haven't seen people go fast in corners. Tomac rides with a different level of aggression. Like, yeah, he may not be going like million miles an hour faster than like a Ricky or a Stu or something, but the way that he does it, it just looks gnarly. What is it about Tomac's technique that allows him to do that? Because I don't know how he even gets traction to be able to do what he does,
Well, he's breaking traction to do what he does. So he, of anybody that I've ever seen steer with the rear, is done it better than anybody.
Yes.
I mean, and his technique in doing that is he just gets on the gas probably earlier than anybody and harder than anybody, and then controlled drifts it around the corner. But he's usually, half the time, he's doing it with his both feet on the pegs.
Yes.
Like, oh my God. When they panned to him and followed him for, I think, maybe a couple laps closer to the end of the race in the main. And Tomac, it's going to be, I would guess, a Sexton, Tomac, who's the other guy? Jet. Sexton, Tomac, Jet battle.
Who's the other guy?
For the top three.
Yeah.
Because there's so many fast people, but I just think that like they're next level fast. Watching Tomac attack that track, I was just like, holy crap.
Yes. It's different, man. It's like a
just no respect to anything. The rhythm section's nothing. Just like pounding through the rhythms. I'm like, dude, that looked like a steep rhythm lane, and he's just like,
but that momentum is like going forward. Like that vector is like it's not up and down. Somehow he just wills that bike to go straight through things, and it's incredible to see, man. And kudos to him, because he is a vet of that class. This is his last season. This is probably the best we've ever seen him ride. I would say. I'll say that. Like, how does he do that, dude? The dude's like 30 something, and he's riding better than when he was 25. It's remarkable.
Yeah, because he keeps learning and changing the little things. Like he's riding with both feet on more now than he ever has. Yep. He talked about it in an interview, I think last year, maybe I heard it. Yeah. He's steering with the rear better than he ever has. That bike is like, you could tell that bike is set up so well. I remember seeing him show up to A1 on the Yamaha one year, and it was like he was doing a nose wheelie the whole time, and I was like, oh boy, that bike's not right. Yeah. It just he looked so good. He really looked so good. Who else looked good? Barsha looked good, the bits that I saw of him. I thought he was on a Ducati, so he wasn't on a Ducati?
I'm glad he said something. I did not like the way his bike looked. He's on a gas. It's a Rockstar gas team now. I liked his bike, like the I don't know, just like the setup, the graphics, the way the bike looked. I liked it better when he rode for Troy Lee, because it looks like a bastardized gas KTM hybrid. Wasn't a KTM or a Ducati. We're not seeing that stuff until next year, I think. But
so he's Rockstar.
Rockstar, yeah, him, Ryder D, and oh my gosh, someone's gonna kick my ass. Oh, not Mosman. He's Yami. I can't remember, but
the kid who won Vegas 250, is it?
Brown? Is it Brown? No, I think he went to...
Dude, I'm the last person to ask. Yeah, I barely know the...
He went to Yami, I think. He went to Blue Crew. Yeah, they got 18 riders this year for Blue Crew, dude. Star has so many riders. It's ridiculous. They're their own basketball team now.
How do you rate the number 70, Mr. Prado Lit Kid Award? How do you rate his performance?
Pretty good. I didn't think he would come out and get as good of a start as he did, and he looked okay. The only thing that I would say is he probably had a bunch of nerves coming in, and he looked just a little bit uncomfortable, not so much at pace, but at pace with other people around him like that. I think him training with JA, riding together, that's one thing. But when you start getting a bunch of blue fenders, red fenders, yellow fenders, orange fenders around you going your same pace, if not a little bit faster, I think it kind of jostled him a little bit. He was making a lot of uncharacteristic mistakes, like a lot that we wouldn't suspect from an MXGP multi-time champion. Not saying like, oh, well, he didn't skim the whoops, but there were other things like transition from straights to corners, coming out of corners, just stuff like that, which you would think he would handle a little bit better. Looked like he was a tad bit uncomfortable, and I don't want to attribute all of that just to a new bike, right? Just a different fender color change. I think if he's still riding,
I thought he looked comfortable.
Yeah.
Because I was watching during the day a time qualifier session, and they had the camera on him on a slow lap, and he like did this like little bunny hop to like nose wheelie thing for a second, and then he did like this kind of scrub helmet grab thing that was completely unnecessary, and I was like, oh yeah, he's like, he looks cool, like he just looks comfortable.
Okay.
But then watching him in the race, I thought I saw the same level of comfort. Corner speed looked great. The bike setup looked good. Prado just doesn't know how to hit whoops yet.
I could see that. I could definitely.
And he doesn't know how to hit rhythms. I mean, he literally had like Hunter almost run into the back of him off the just on the double triple. Tomac scrubbed by him. Like basically Tomac took off after he took off and landed before he landed. It was that bad. He was just popping too high on those jumps, so he was losing a lot of time there. So that just comes with like lack of experience in hitting rhythm lanes, really. Yeah. And then he just didn't know what to do in the whoops. You watched him in the main. He started jumping, and it was like, dude, you're in like the top 5. You can't be jumping these whoops right off the bat. You got to be skimming them. And then he must have got on the pit board, skim these things, and he tried to skim a couple times on the far right side just to get out of where they'd been skimmed.
Yeah.
And kind of got through a couple times and then went back to jumping, and then ended up, I think, crashing in him when he was jumping. But do you think like he needs to have, who's training him in the whoops? Who's teaching him how to hit whoops?
I have no idea.
Nobody?
The only reason why I say I think it's his comfort level is because, remember, he was here last year, albeit on a different colored bike, but I think he got really good exposure to like what he had to work on. I think he knows how to do all of these things. I just feel like it's his comfort level right now because he's a full-time Supercross rider. I don't know, but I have no idea who's training him. He could call up TMA, man. We can get him right.
Well, he should forget about corners for now because he can do those just fine. He should be hitting steep rhythm lanes and learning how to push through those, although he could probably figure that out pretty quick as well. And he should just be riding a whoop track.
Non-stop.
Whoops after whoops after whoops after whoops, and learn how to skim whoops better. Because and have a technique coach, definitely. Like how much money are they investing in a guy like that? Like if you're going to come over and race, you gotta have somebody teaching you how to hit the whoops.
Well, 100%. Yeah, I think once he gets that, he'll be pretty dialed. I expect him to be a top 6 guy on any given weekend. You know, top 7. I could see him there, respectively. You start getting to next year, I expect it to be a little bit better. But he's still a young guy. Like he's still got there's a lot of meat left on that bone. You know, so
how old is he?
I think he's 24-ish, if I'm not mistaken. 25-ish.
Crazy.
Yeah, dude's solid, man. I'm not gonna say like pull the help chain. I'll give him like 3-4 rounds before we start saying like, dude, you're looking kind of scary now. I give him a little bit of a handicap for the first couple, but
yeah, I mean overall I was super impressed, and for him
sure
to get a good start like that and to hold his own the whole race.
Yeah.
Granted, fading and getting passed by like that's the thing with the 450 class though. Like if you don't know how to hit whoops like a G, there goes Webb. There goes Barsha.
Yeah.
There goes Plessinger. There goes Hunter Lawrence.
Yeah.
There goes Malcolm Stewart. I mean, there goes Justin Cooper. Like there's there's way too many good guys that are specialized in it. Like you gotta just he's lucky there's just 9 whoops. Because if these were old school tracks, he wouldn't suffer. If these were he probably wouldn't. I don't think you could hop into a 450 class and expect to operate at a high level with 12 to 14 whoop setups. I just don't think it'd be possible. You'd be a 15th to 20th place guy.
Yeah.
You could never get better than that.
I agree. I definitely agree. One thing I want to ask you is about. I know you sit off of social media, Grandpa, so you probably have no clue, but there's like this rivalry that's been like, I feel like it's super fabricated between Degan and Jet, and like there's this wave of trying to make Jet seem like this cocky, entitled, uh, self-absorbed, like douche, essentially, which is not how I remember like interacting with them. He's always, the family's great, right? What's your take on that? Like, I kind of liken it to like when they touted Bowers as like this jerk and awful guy. Bowers is the nicest guy he is such a sweetheart, and I mean that. The dude is a sweetheart. Do you like? What's your thought on that? Like, why do that? And do you think there's like any validity to it? And do you think that there's a Degan versus Lawrence thing? Is it a thing?
I saw two things. So I saw a press conference clip of Degan talking about if Jet wouldn't stand a chance on a 250.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think Degan just likes to say stuff like that to stir a reaction, which is great. I think it's funny. And then the other thing that I saw, which by the way, Degan versus Jet on a 250. I mean, I picked Jet.
Yeah.
Right.
If you put, so again, I'll look at outdoors last year version of Degan versus Jet's last year. I'm leaning towards Jet, man, and I'm a Degan fan. I love me some Danger Boy for sure, but Jet's racecraft and the way that he rides the bike looks. I don't know. He floats. He floats around the track. You know what I mean? He's
just a little bit better right now.
Yeah.
I think that Degan is learning really quickly. I think that completely subjective opinion. I think that just Jet is a little bit better of a rider all around. If you were to piece together all the different attributes, I think Jet has more of those attributes than Degan. But Degan he's learning quick. I saw a clip of him on press day, like doing the stand-up drift on the right-hand turn. And I was like,
I almost dropped my phone when I saw that. Degan's cornering abilities, flat versus like, remember that bowl corner we had at like Houston?
Yeah.
Dude, Degan can do some things in a bike that makes me like, all right, dude, I'm gonna sell everything. Like, there's no hope for me, you know. But no, it's incredible. Whatever that shakes up to be in 450s, we are gonna be in for an absolute treat, man.
It's great. It's great for the sport to keep hyping that stuff up. The other clip that I saw was the one that you sent through the mastermind chat of everybody building their ideal rider or choosing their ideal rider.
Yeah.
Whose clip was that? Like Supercross's clip?
Supercross Live, I think, yeah.
And it was just Jet saying me for every single one. Was that real or was that like a fake? Dude, that was real.
No,
right?
it was real. I don't know if Jet was like taking it as a joke and decided to say me for every single one of them. But like, yeah, it was, all the other riders were like, yeah, I take like Stewart's this, or like, you know, I really think my other competitor Sexton's really, they were like, no, I mean, and one or two guys were like, well, this aspect, I think I'm the best at this, which you need some of that for sure. But Jet across the board was like, yeah, no one can hang with my shit, dude. I'm the best. It's me all the way.
Yeah, which I like. I love that too. I think that's great, and because from what I know of Jet, at least, you know, people change. Yeah. Everybody changes. Deep down, not that type of person.
Yeah.
But at the same time, has so much belief that, like, of course, you think you're the best because you are the best.
Yeah.
So yeah, why not?
Oh, for sure.
It's just sort of that locked in, like me. Yep, me. Yeah. Me. I was laughing when I saw that.
I loved Plessingers when they were like, "Who's your biggest rival?" And everyone's like, "Oh, JA's like, oh, I can't stand Hunter." I'm paraphrasing. Roxon was like, "Oh, Tomac or something." I can't remember, but Plessinger was like, "My biggest rival, the track." Dude, it was just really funny, dude. He was just like making fun of himself and just like, I saw that, dude. I laughed for a good like 30 seconds. I'm like, that's why we love Aaron Plessinger, dude, because he's just so funny.
Was it the same bit that I saw another clip of Anderson and Hunter? And Anderson said something about like Hunter is that Jet's older brother or something.
Oh
Is
yeah,
that his name?
yeah.
And then Hunter said he doesn't
Like anything
like
about
Anderson
the
or
guy.
something.
I don't like anything about the guy. I was like, dude, you gotta at least say like the dude's he got pretty cool style. You know what I mean?
But I feel that just seeing a couple of those clips, I bet you that there were producers in that room kind of like saying, hey guys, like
we gotta
edging them, nudging them
dude.
certain directions,
For
obviously.
sure. Reality TV.
Because I feel like in the past when they've tried to do stuff like that, it's maybe been a little flat, fallen a little flat because it's just like people are afraid to say things. So I'm all for it.
Yeah.
If it's finally getting a little bit of flair, shoot. Oh my God, give me something. The fair weather fan over here, like you got to give me something to watch. If there's not more than 9 whoops, at least talk crap.
Let me ask you this. I was texting Weston yesterday, and it brought up like a really good point. Like, we see like a lot of riders like come off the track and they start yelling and pointing fingers and grabbing helmets. You think anyone's gonna like go to blows like Pike did back in the day? Like, do you think anyone's ever going to that level? Because to me, it looks like if I do something on the track by accident or even on purpose, and I have like Tomac come at me and start yelling, I'm like, all he's gonna do is just yell. Like, I can take yelling. I have girls yelling at me all the time. I can take yelling, but like it wouldn't affect me as much as like I see it affecting these riders, and they're like, I can't believe he pulled off and yelled at me. I'm like, dude, unless he's gonna throw hands, I'd be like, yeah, screw you, dude, and drive off. You know, like, do you ever think it's gonna get to a point where we start seeing like people throw blows again? And does that bother you when someone comes off the track and starts yelling at you? Does it bother you at all?
Oh, it has for sure. And the reason psychologically, the reason that it does, it's like when a person gets cut off in traffic, the reason the response is so exaggerated is because you're in a heightened state to begin with. You know, so like when a trigger causes a response, like you have no control of what that response is. It's just subconscious, just like you're just gonna flip the person off, and it's like, whoops, didn't think about that, didn't think that through, right? It was just like an automatic. So I think when people get into it on the track, it's just these automatic, like it's emotions, right? It's not they're not thinking these things through. That's why I don't know. I watch the races now, and I'm like, man, I don't know if I would care enough. You know, it's just like I just want to keep myself safe and make sure everybody else is safe and like have a good time, man. I'm gonna. I'll mind my own business. You do your thing over here.
Yeah.
I wouldn't react personally, but I'm definitely kind of living in my own world for sure. Yes, I think anything could happen because they're in such a heightened state, and they care and they're in it. I mean, so many of those kids are so young, and it's their lives. Like that race is their life.
Yes.
Many of those kids just don't know how to. They don't have a life outside of it.
Yeah.
They don't understand that there is a bigger picture outside of it. Like it's everything. It's everything to them.
Yeah.
So of course,
I think I would try to like diffuse and be like, hey man, that was on me. I apologize. But after a while, I'd be like, dude, unless you're gonna throw your helmet down and start like, I'm not listening to you, dude. Like, what are you gonna do? Yell? It's like, dude, my daughter yells. Like, I'm not even, you know, like, come on, man.
Yeah. I think you get to a certain point. Certainly where I am in my life now, like I see right through it, and I understand like what's caused the reaction in the first place, and it's like. Makes it very easy to diffuse because it's like I'm outside of the situation as it's happening type of thing. But rewind 5 years ago, oh yeah,
different story.
I was I basically would have ripped somebody's head off. I remember somebody tried to go around the outside of me for like 15th place in a heat race in the 450 class in probably 2020 2021 and I just stayed on the throttle because they were going around the outside of me. And basically they kind of came around and hit me because I was just like, didn't let them go around the outside of me. And he was so furious after the race. And I got right back in his face. Like I would have just let loose. Like I had no control, zero control. You know, I basically would have killed him had nobody been watching. And now it's just not. I just don't want to get hurt. Why would I want to get hurt?
Thank you.
Why do I care? Like, it just, maybe that's also part of the reason that makes me not enjoy watching the racing as much, because I'm like watching it with this weird perspective of like, man, who cares?
Yeah, almost like a pulled back, withdrawn kind of.
Like, who cares? I was watching an interview during the broadcast of the Tomac family, and I was watching a B-roll shot of him at the ranch with his wife and his kids, and they were playing with the animals.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that dude is done all this work and accomplished all of these things and has all of these stats and all of this money, whatever. And do you know what he's going to do when it's all said and done? He's going to be right there in that field with those cows and those horses and those kids and that wife with nobody around.
Yeah.
With not needing to spend any of that money that he earned. Like, so what was it really all for in the first place?
Yeah.
It was to enjoy yourself. So I wish that more people maybe could have that perspective, and that I would love to be able to help people have that perspective earlier in life of like, hey man, it's all going to be okay.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to operate out of desperation.
Yes.
And all the time. Like, you're going to get there. It might take a little bit of time, but you're going to get there.
Yes.
By the way, where is there? What does that even mean?
Yeah.
Like, keep it simple, learn, work hard in the right ways.
Yes.
And yeah, I don't know. I was just watching that clip and something hit me of like, oh my God, he has 3 kids. Like, just go hang out at your ranch with your 3 kids.
Yeah. For sure.
But then the other side is he loves the comp. He loves it.
Yeah.
He loves it.
For sure. Yeah. No, I totally get that. And like
same with Roxon.
Yeah, exact same. That desperation, that was a really good thing you just said. Yeah, you see it so often. And yeah, where is there? Like, do you even know what your goals are? Like, where do you have plans to get to that goal? So really,
yeah. What is your goal? Oh, to be successful. Oh, great answer, man. What does that mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
yeah. Turn a lot of money. Okay, how much?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, these are questions
I don't know.
I get asked, because I do like the one-on-one calls with like, hey, tell me about where you want to be in the industry, how we can help you, or we're here to support. And like a lot of times it's like that's where we start. It's like, man, like, what are your goals? What's the how do you see yourself getting there? Where do you want to be? I want to work in the industry. Like, dude, there's 1,000 jobs. Like, what do you just stuff like that. Like, you really that it's needed. If there was a like guru that could help with mindset support for these guys, it would be, yeah.
Well, the 2 most important things in motocross, Dave, with the hard R is
we're gonna get that. We're gonna get that T-shirt. Motocross #hardr
is technique.
Yeah.
On the bike and riding the correct way, and it is the mindset. And what's interesting is that the technique and the mindset are the 2 most ignored things.
Yeah.
Aren't
definitely. They? Yeah. I think so.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Technique, I was thinking about that this morning. Yes. I'm like, nobody ever really talks about technique other than like, I'm the technique guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you wanted to say that Rhino was before,
yeah, I'm
that now. Sorry. Whoopsie daisy.
Which, and we gotta touch on that for like 2 seconds. It's such a bummer that like you guys are catching flack from the Rhino stuff. Like, Rhino was our hero as kids, dude. I remember like literally him on that KTM 25 with like the skills tape. That dude, like, that's my hero. And like, see, like, he just the discourse, I'm like, oh no, dude, that's like, it's gonna be hard for you, dude, because like, looked up to him, Like, he was a badass dude.
Yeah. It's when the ego resurfaces, like, that's the type of stuff that will happen. I've seen so many comments come through from him, or things that he said. And yeah, my plan was if I, ever see him again in person, I would just kindly like ask for an apology and an explanation of like, I bet you he's aware enough. I think he's like reached certain levels of awareness that like, you could tell still is an extreme, like an ego driven person,
Yeah.
as most motocross people are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as he's kind of like come out of that and started to like become and like learn just and be more aware, like you fall back into those patterns at times, as all of us do.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I see it and I understand why. Because the ego would think that you have ownership of these things, and the irony of it is that like there's very little, consciously at least, there's very little that is involved in my lesson plan,
Yeah.
curriculum, the way I explain things. The one term that I remember using because I thought it made a lot of sense was hips locked versus unlocked. And that for sure was something that I know I heard from him.
Yeah.
But then I was told from multiple chiropractors and doctors that that's not an accurate term. So somebody breaking in.
I think I got a friend at the front door who's trying to get in. Okay. Yeah, I gotta.
Do you need to roll? Or are you good?
I should probably let her in. Yeah. Wait. Intermission.
Well, hour 20, I have to roll. So
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
okay. You go do your thing. I'll finish my thought and then on the podcast. Is that fair?
I mean, the door's right there. I can just like open it really quick.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Give me 2 seconds. Let me just scooch this out of the way really quick.
An editor's note too, while Dave is doing that, I would say definitely don't highlight the rhino thing in an individual clip. I don't want to give him that level of attention. You can absolutely leave that in the full podcast, but no need to clip it on our end. If somebody else wants to clip it, they can, but we don't have to.
Editor's note. Don't want all the craziness to pop up.
But anyhow, the irony of it is like, I think his ego thinks that like the information is his.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where it stems from. And in that I very, very little have I really even taken. I guess there's certain we'd have to see. I don't know. But anyhow, none of the information is ours, period.
Yeah.
It is tools for us to be able to help others.
Pulled. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and in the way that I've learned is like, I've learned from everybody, collecting information from everybody. And I've combined that with like everything that I've learned about the mind and psychology. And I think that I do a really effective job at getting that information through to people.
Yeah.
So I think it's unfortunate that somebody else hates on that, but I understand why they would.
Yeah. No, for sure. It's still a bummer to me sometimes thinking about it. Like, oh man, like that's, dude, you couldn't, apart from James Stewart, dude, you couldn't tell me nothing about Ryan Hughes, dude. I was like that. I would spit every Ryan Hughes fact, dude, forever. So like, dude, I'm a fan of the dude. I love like those old moto videos. I say old now, but dude, it makes me feel super old. But yeah, it's just unfortunate, man. I wish there was more cohesion, you know. There's room for everybody to eat, you know. There's room for 4 more TMA type stuff, and it doesn't mean that everybody has to take from each other, you know. It's like it's all raised together, and the safer people in the sport, the better. There's room for all of us, you know.
Yeah, the scarcity mindset
that's what it
is heavy in moto. It's heavy in moto because it's like, yeah, I mean there's plenty of money, believe it or not. There's plenty of money and plenty of opportunity for everybody to go around. Yeah. I haven't thought on like a competition mindset in a while. It's more of creativity versus competition. And people in motocross like have that ego. They're very competitive and naturally, like when it comes to anybody kind of diving more into the business end, they end up being more competitive and thinking that they have to tear others apart to be able to get ahead. And it's just not the case.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. Speaking of competitive, we are a rare breed, dude. Down to like the last time we all hung out together for the AZ trip, I have never been to a place. I don't think the go-kart place we were at, K1, has ever, especially that location, has ever had 13 different moto people as crazy, but also within like 0.3 of each other for like 3 or 4 motos, dude. Like talking about competitive. Oh my gosh, dude. we're a
That
rare
was cool.
breeds.
I had never done the go-kart thing where like they properly,
Staggered start. Yeah.
staged us into a staggered start situation
Yeah.
and then dropped the flag when we went. That was fun.
Yeah.
I want to I want to rent a place out, and it sucks when you go and you only get 3 motos and it's like, man, I'm just getting started. I want to keep going.
Yeah. No,
We need to rent a place out and spend some more time.
We definitely should. That's such a good time, man. It's and we get so addicted. You can see the second. It's all fun and games until they're like we start comparing lap times, and you see the okay. Well, next moto here we're braking here. We need to drift here. Back on the gas. Dude, you can see like the wheels turning. So yeah,
I was happy because I was on the top of the lap time sheet for the first 2 until we got to the race, and it was partially because it's like I just had a cart that I was happy with, and usually that's 3/4 of the battle.
Yes. Oh
right?
my gosh.
And it's why I don't brag when I win, because it's like, dude, it's so cart dependent.
So hit or miss. I will say, Kalana is probably the worst go-karter I've ever seen. Like, dude, you're so good on dirt bikes. How are you this bad? Go-karts, dude.
No, something was happening with his cart because there was multiple times. So the night that you think you were there, where everybody went and I wasn't there.
Oh yeah, the first night. Yeah.
Did you go?
Yeah.
I saw the video of him just getting absolutely obliterated by who hit him?
Ezra.
Yeah. And because it's like he just either slammed on the brakes or his cart shut off or something.
Yeah.
Right. And Kalana got hit so hard that his feet flew up out of the cart. Which is like seems like physically impossible for that to even happen.
It was so funny.
But dude, he did it to me 2 or 3 times the next night when I went. So I'm like, Kalana, are you like taking a nap in the middle of your race? Are you slamming on the brakes? Is somebody like sabotaging your cart? Like we would be flying down the high speed straightaway, and all of a sudden he would just completely come to a dead stop, and I would just have to swerve out of the way. And I'm like, thank God you had me behind you. Like I was like this close to hitting him.
Oh, dude, if
it was Ezra again, he would have just had another concussion.
Oh, so funny, man. Good time. This is why people need to come to more TMA events, man. We have such a good time.
Well, dude, speaking of Winchester, we're going to have people flying out there left and right. I just want to have team trip after team trip. There is, from what I remember, there was the go-kart place right down the road. I hope it's still there.
I hope. The last time I've been there is when we all got kicked out. And we were all the youth.
That was the last time I was there too.
Youth 125B days. 125, which none of you guys should have been in the B class. But,
was I in B then?
I think you were in B.
Yeah, I probably would have been.
Barsha was in B.
Because like my first.
Dude, I remember. Yeah, Jimmy. Yeah, I remember. Dude, I don't remember. I think at one point in the race, dude, I was working harder than I ever have, and that was only for like 15th place, dude. I was giving it everything I had, and I was like, dude, I was in corners. I was like to the stop. I sent things I didn't want to send, and I was like, dude, there's no way I'm not third right now. And then you look at the results, I'm like, 18th. It's like, dude, what more do I have to? I don't have any more bike, dude.
I tell you though, there was a lot of fast people in our class.
Insanely fast.
There were a lot of fast people. I want to get New England kind of like went through, I think it's going through now maybe a little bit of a dip in like, it just doesn't have the resources available to them to like be spitting out a bunch of fast riders like how it used to be.
Yeah.
I want to bring that back. So like speaking of Winchester, I am so excited to start training these kids, getting them good on Supercross, like, and seeing the wave of like super fast 85 super mini 250B kids.
Because I mean, think about it. How many fast 65 riders were there back in like 04, 05, 03 in New England? I mean, pretty much all of the all of the 65 kids. I mean, any given weekend, like there were. You'd be racing your local race, and then you go and do a Loreta's region area or something, and the same kids are there because you're all just badass riders. So, which is, I think we grew up in a really good era. I would love to see that, like a new wave ushered in to New England Moto. I mean, we had 6 organizations we could pick and choose from, and all these good tracks. The New England Regional, we had so many different opportunities, man. And I think TMA is going to be the wave that brings in a lot of that new excitement.
We're bringing it back. It starts in 2025. We're bringing it back.
I cannot. I got to buy a bike for New England now, dude. I got to have a bike here and a bike there now.
Yeah. Do it. Yeah, because you're gonna have to fly in a bunch. All right, hour and a half. We did it.
Ooh.
Moto Academy podcast, #1 podcast in motocross. A1 recap. I'm the fair weather fan, so don't expect these recaps every week. But maybe you can expect Dave to be. I don't want to take too much of your time necessarily, but I would love to be able to have you operate as a co-host on these, assuming.
Yeah.
That you didn't just waste an hour and a half of my time and botch something.
Dude, I really hope
technologically on your end.
If we're talking moto, dude, I'm there. But yeah, we do these. We're gonna be in the app, breaking down the races and the mains with our events and the rest of the crew. We always do our Sunday night podcast. We've got so much cool content inside the Moto Academy, partnered up with the collective. We're doing so much cool stuff. So if they don't have a Moto Academy app subscription, AJ, what are they doing?
I don't know. I don't know.
Also,
because we're just adding benefit after benefit.
It's crazy. Sweet T-shirt, by the way. This is one that I'm excited for. The
new tour shirt.
The new tour shirt. The gray.
Yeah.
That one's sick.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're leveling them up. We also have Daniel, man friend Dan. You would have met him, right, from Utah.
Yep.
He's going to start back up with designing stuff for us as well. He didn't do these designs, as cool as these were. And we have new stuff dropping on the website this week. So if this podcast comes out Monday, well, we might have done our apparel drop on Monday. So go to the website, check it out. Sweet. We've got some embroidered heavyweight hoodies. We've got some new T-shirt colors. We've got some cool stuff.
The hoodies are sick.
Yeah. Yeah, the hoodies are by far our best ones yet, and we've had some good hoodies in the past.
Yeah,
so.
the gray.
All right, Dave.
Yeah, save me one.
Okay, well, thank you.
Fun.
Much appreciated.
Fun, sir.
We're out. Toodles.